First, I'd like to invite all our panelists or presenters to the stage. Starting with Miss Dana Dumpangol. While I invite them, I'll just do a brief introduction of their biography. So Dana, she has a double honors in geography and geology from Keele University in UK. She's currently attached to APPGM-SDG as a community farming officer. She's also a sporting Sabahan who likes to mogidum on a bad day. Next, we would like to invite Dr. Suzita Ibrahim. Okay, so Dr. Wan is a Doctor of Philosophy graduate student in the field of regional tourism at the Development Science Department, Faculty of Social Sciences, Humanities and Environment, University Kebangsaan Bangi, Selangor in 2021. She completed her first degree in Urban and Regional Planning in 2001 and her master's degree in Planning Science at University Science Malaysia in 2004. She has 5 years of working experience as an assistant planner at MIM Consultants Kelantan and has successfully published several articles and currently works in APPGM-SDG as a researcher and South Regional Coordinator. And last but not least, I would like to invite my colleague Nurrul Fazlina Osman. She's currently pursuing her doctorate degree in University Malaysia Sabah under the Borneo Marine Research Institute. Her major is about the sustainable small-scale fisheries under the potential impact of climate change in Kudat, Sabah. She's currently attached in APPGM-SDG and has been with us since 2021 and is currently the executive officer and is leading the Sabah regional office. Okay, welcome all of you. So for this session, the panelists will be talking about the impacts of climate change and climate resilience of the communities. So I would like to just remind you that you all have 10 minutes for each presentation. And then there will be like question and answers if you have time. So please get ready your questions. They're quite excited to answer. They work so hard on these papers. So give them some semangat lah. Okay, thanks. So first I'd like to start with Dana. So Dana's paper is Future Proofing Farms, Addressing Vulnerability in the Face of Climate Change and Environmental Challenges. So this paper is about the impact of climate change on agriculture, particularly in Malaysia, and examines how climate change affects farming practices, crop yields, and farm productivity, with a focus on small-scale farmers who are most vulnerable. So over to you, Dana.
Hi everyone, I hope everyone is having a good day. Please, enjoy and continue to eat as I present. No need to ask questions, also can. I can give my contact number after. No, I'm just joking. So So today I'll be presenting my paper. So as Dr. Eva mentioned, I'm one of the community farming officers of APPGM. I'm not a farmer, I wouldn't say, I don't want to say that I'm a farmer, but I think as a community farming officer, I feel a sense of responsibility to know the challenges or the gaps of what farmers are facing in the face of climate change and also environmental vulnerability lah. So this paper is somewhat about that. So I came up with the title Future Proofing Farms, Addressing Vulnerability in the Face of Climate Change, Environmental Challenges. Wait, I'm just going to open my slide here. Okay, so everyone is talking about climate change. We all know what is climate change. We all know about, it's a hot topic. You know, it's something that, it's a global phenomena. It's something that's universal, something that's indefinite. It's something that many people are facing. And I would say the one who gets the brunt of it, the one who feels it the most, the vulnerable groups. So I would say the vulnerable groups, definitely our small-scale farmers. Because one of the biggest impacts of climate change is towards agriculture or agriculture productivity. farmers, or in particular small-scale farmers, the vulnerable groups, they are already facing difficulties in terms of resources, whether it's to do with infrastructure, financial resources, and having to maximize natural resources like your water, your soil, and your energy. So the challenges of climate change and also environmental challenges adds to that layer of difficulty. So with this paper, it was done fairly simple, I would say, simply, whereby a survey was conducted across the 6 regions in Malaysia. A total of 61 respondents took part, mostly small-scale farmers, most are conducting mixed integrated farming, and more than half of them are small-scale with a land size of 1 to 2 acres of land. So the primary focus of the survey is to mainly to know the farming practices that's being employed, to what extent are they employing sustainable practices, and another aspect is, of course, climate change, to further capture the understanding and perceptions of climate change and its impacts, and as well as the environmental degradation, to what extent farmers have noticed about environmental degradation, whether it's loss of soil fertility, whether it's to do with biodiversity, and whether it's pollution, and so on. So to complement that, or to add depth to the farmers' feedback, a more in-depth interview was done. A conversation, I would say, it was quite long conversations, talking about nearly 2 hours kind of conversation with these 5 amazing farmers that I managed to interview. Similar questions that I asked from the survey, however, it's gathering more perspective or gaps and barriers to adopting sustainable practices. So the 5 farmers were interviewed from similar yet very different backgrounds. We have Mr. Irfan, who is an urban farmer, an urban soil-based farmer, and we also have Miss Vianney, who is a traditional paddy farmer from Sabah, and we also have a Mr. Navin, who is a soil-based turned soilless farmer, used to do soil-based, now he's doing more to hydroponics. And then we also have a conventional turned organic farmer, it's Mr. Morgan, who is a Sarawakian himself. He's managing a 25-acre land in Siburan organic farm. So he is completely organic. Then lastly we have is Mr. Kenny, who is from Earthlings Coffee. He's a coffee farmer, and a lot of people don't really talk about the impacts of climate change to coffee farming, actually. And to all our coffee lovers out there, if you like to drink coffee, please be aware that as climate change continues, this will affect the flavors of your coffee. So again, like what Mr. Kenny is doing, he is trying to promote more climate resilient kind of coffee together with indigenous communities. So I had a very good time conversing with these farmers. So diving straight into it. Okay, we're talking about climate change towards farming. So you can gather a lot of stories, a lot of experiences. To some point, it can be a little bit overwhelming because there's so many, news. There's so many experiences that a lot of people are going through when it relates back to climate change. We talk about rising temperatures. We talk about rainfall patterns, and so on. So from the survey of the 61 respondents, most of them are facing droughts, is the most, followed by floods, and then followed by pest infestation, and then reduced water supply. Most of them are actually facing all 4 at the same time. So, but droughts being the lead in this when it comes to impacts of climate change. So many of them are aware of their vulnerability. However, a lot of them are not prepared or not aware of how they can adapt to these changes. 80% of them has never gone through formal training on climate adaptation, and Malaysia itself does not really have a proper climate adaptation plan. And actually, if you're talking about in the scientific sense, Malaysia is actually very close or above the equator. So our climate should be fairly balanced, but the extremes should not be extreme. But there are many noticeable shifts in weather patterns have occurred over the years. This year, Sabah Sarawak experienced long months of droughts in the middle of the year, especially impacting paddy cultivation, and it was hit very badly. And then we also, not just climate change hitting farm productivity, we're talking about farmers' health as well. Many farmers are undergoing, heat strokes because they work long hours under the sun, and then they're getting headaches and in general physical discomfort. So because of that, less of them are going out on the field during the day. They go later in the day. So last time they would go maybe 11:30 and also 12:30. Now they only go at 3:30 p.m. So those are the type of shifts that we are also seeing. And then we are looking at market and financial impacts. So climate change has complicated market dynamics. During monsoon seasons, for example, often such events would reduce crop yields, causing a shortage in supply in the market. So this was highlighted where, a lot of the pemborong or middlemen, they will exploit the fluctuations in these crop yields. During such shortages, middlemen will hoard the produce to create artificial scarcity, and then they'll raise the prices. Then this exploits both farmers and consumers, facing inflation in prices. So instead of the market the middleman will be selling 2 ringgit per kg for kangkung to 4 ringgit kg per kangkung. So again, this is where the market dynamics is being affected. So moving on to environmental challenges. So of the respondents that we got, 41% reported a loss of soil fertility, followed by biodiversity loss and water pollution and also soil erosion. So nearly half of them attributed these issues with climate change. So when we talk about soil degradation, we talk about the health of soil. Actually a lot of people don't know that the use of chemicals in agriculture shows very big yields and faster yields. You're talking about faster hasil, everything and all that. But actually, in actual fact, chemical inputs will further degrade the soil, causing even your farms to be less productive, and then causing more inputs, because when your farm becomes less productive, then you will keep increasing your chemical fertilizers to make it more productive. But actually, in the end of the day, between 4 to 7 years, the operational costs of the farm will be higher than how much you're actually producing. So that is something that I got from our interviewees. So another thing is deforestation. A lot of people relate deforestation with soil condition. When you clear the land, it will degrade the soil. But actually, deforestation also has an impact on weather. It will make weather even more dry, more droughts, because tree canopy is supposed to regulate water cycle. So when you reduce this, you're also lowering rainfall. So that's deforestation. Then you have water scarcity. So water is when, as a farmer, the increasing temperature, you will want to increase your water frequency. You will want to siram your crops more because of the rising temperatures. So I spoke to one of our traditional farmers, 14 years. He said generally last time he will want to water his crops 2 times a day, but now he's increasing it to 3 times a day. And every minute he is using at least 400 liters of water, and if every day he is watering his crops for 3 times a day, you're talking about 36,000 of liters being used. So this is a lot of water that's being used. So a lot of farmers now, what they do is they go to the river, they go and makeshift of water reservoir, they takung the water. But because of this, you're disrupting the ecosystem of the river. You're disrupting the fish migration patterns and so on. So there's a multiplying effect to that. So some are even now extracting water from mountains, and this system costs up to 10,000 in one go. So again, you're extracting water from places that you shouldn't. And then with all that being said, you would think that we should be shifting more to sustainable practices. I agree with that. And in essence, when what is sustainable practices is when you sustain something without compromising another thing. So this is why we should be talking about, there's a lot of talk about organic farming, there's a lot of talk about regenerative farming, natural farming, permaculture, all of which is considered best practices. But at the end of the day, I can summarize that it's to do with the principle of design of your farm, to make your farm where one system can benefit the other one and doesn't harm the other one. So this is where sustainable practices come. And then, but because of that, I also asked our interviewees, what is actually the barriers? Why a lot of people are not practicing sustainable practices? Because, there's no wrong or right way to farm, but a lot of them said it's the mindset, it's cultural resistance. Many farmers and their practice is not easy for someone who's already been doing conventional farming for a long time to suddenly shift to more organic kind of farming. So that's one. And then you're looking at funding models. There's a lot of funding that is not for organic practices, not for sustainable practices. And I know, but okay, then funding models is not just, is more available to conventional farming. It's not really, not a lot of the traditional farmers, they shifted to conventional farming because that's where the subsidies are, that's where the funding is. So that's why they shift more into that. That's why you see a lot of abandoned paddy fields in Sabah. A lot of them are shifting to that because that's where the money is, that's where the funding model is. And then there's, of course, gaps to information. There's a lot of resources on conventional farming. There's not a lot of textbooks, there's not a lot of guidelines when it comes to organic farming or natural farming. There's no equation for natural farming for mass production. There's a lot. If you go and apply for pineapple farming courses, they will tell you A to Z. The planting schedule, what you should do, what you should put into your farm and everything and all that. But when it comes to natural farming, there's not a lot of equations to this. There's not a lot of mass production model. So as a farmer, how can I guarantee that I can pay my workers? How can I guarantee that I can pay for my farming operations if I suddenly shift to a more sustainable practice? So it's a lot of the models that's available out there, a lot of the information that's available out there. I know I'm running out of time, but that pretty much summarizes the barriers. And then lastly is the way forward. I would say way forward is to reform more agriculture policies, more frameworks to be done, again, because there's not a lot of models that's available for farmers. A lot of natural farmers are small-scale farmers. They are less than 3 acres. So I would think that a lot of gaps are also within the agriculture policies. And then next one would be, okay, sorry. Next one is adaptation. And then lastly would be community solutions. I think bringing community together when they bersatu hati, then you are making everything else easier. You're giving a platform for communities to work together to answer a lot of the problems together. And I think adapting to climate change is very important. So that's the 3 things I can get. And this is my final slide. Thank you so much. I just want to say a little key takeaway is that at the end of the day, because Malaysia is talking a lot about food security, food shortages, at the end of the day, the people who grow food are the ones who are feeding us. So if you want them to continue to do this, then we should be supporting in a way that does not burden them. So that's my key takeaway. Thank you so much for giving me more time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. I know you're trying to avoid questions later, but it's not. So yeah, what I got is that it's quite a challenge. Is it considered sustainable practice if it's environmentally friendly, but the farmers are unable to benefit in the long run, or it's like it cuts into their livelihood as well. So yeah, something to think about. Anyway, so next we'll move on to Dr. Wan. She'll be presenting on Kesan Banjir Terhadap Kelestarian Alam Sekitar dan Ekonomi Penduduk Kajian Kes Dabong Kuala Krai Kelantan. So just as a reminder, Dr. Wan, you have 10 minutes. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum dan selamat pagi semua. Saya cuba habiskan dalam masa 10 minit jika diberi peluang 10 minit. Tetapi untuk kes ini adalah untuk makluman semua adalah melibatkan case study di salah satu daripada kawasan yang selalu menghadapi masalah banjir di Dabong, Kuala Krai. Dan dalam 34 kampung di daerah Dabong, saya memilih satu saja kampung, iaitu kampung Sungai Durian. Okey. Dari segi rangka pembentangan melibatkan 5, mungkin saya tak nak sebut. Untuk pengenalan sedikit literature review, sebenarnya di Malaysia memang kita telah ada dari segi pengurusan banjir, terutamanya menerusi rancangan Malaysia yang ke-11, iaitu selari dengan kemampanan dan daya tahan kelestarian di Malaysia. Dan penyelarasan juga telah dibuat menerusi RFM yang kedua, yang pertama 20207 dan juga RMK ke-12. Serta mengenai masalah banjir bukan sahaja berlaku di Malaysia, tetapi berlaku juga di peringkat antarabangsa. Contohnya di Beijing pada 2011, di Thailand pada 2011 juga, dan juga Vietnam pada 2021. Dan di Malaysia, bencana alam adalah merupakan salah satu daripada bencana yang popular, terutamanya banjir. Tetapi perlu diingatkan, di Malaysia mempunyai 2 saja yang famous, iaitu banjir dan banjir kilat. Banjir yang biasanya melibatkan fenomena daripada alam sekitar ataupun perubahan iklim. Namun banjir kilat adalah daripada penggunaan tanah yang tidak terancang dan sebagainya. Okey, contoh ini adalah sebahagian daripada yang saya jumpa, iaitu berlaku di Guna Jerai, Kepala Air 2021, Segamat, Tangkap, Kuala Nurrul, Terengganu dan Rantau Panjang. Ini adalah kawasan-kawasan yang popular di Pantai Timur pada waktu dulu, tapi kini telah merebak di kawasan utara dan juga di selatan. Okey, boleh dikatakan mengikut anggaran NAKMA 2022, setiap kali banjir kita mengalami kerugian 305 juta setiap kali banjir setiap tahun. Dan juga peruntukan juga untuk satu pembinaan RTB adalah 5 juta untuk satu projek setiap pengurusan risiko bencana banjir. Okey, so untuk kali ini difokuskan kajian adalah salah satu daripada perkampungan di Kuala Krai yang terletak di hulu Sungai Kelantan dan juga hulu kawasan negeri Kelantan. Dan untuk seterusnya, ini adalah sejarah. Dari segi sejarah, banjir kita bermula daripada 1965 yang merupakan banjir besar yang melibatkan 300 mangsa banjir. Dan yang popular seterusnya 2014 yang melibatkan 300,000 mangsa banjir, di mana ia bukan melibatkan Kelantan sahaja tetapi merebak kepada bahagian selatan dan juga sedikit di utara. Okey, ini adalah contoh-contoh gambar daripada Pusat Bencana Agensi Pengurusan Bencana Negara 20204. Okey, boleh ya? Okey, next. Dari segi definisi bencana banjir, kita ada dari segi pendefinisian dan juga berdasarkan 5 kategori yang telah diserapkan oleh Plan Malaysia, iaitu melibatkan tsunami, hakisan, banjir dan juga ketinggian aras laut. Dan ini adalah digariskan untuk pembangunan persekitaran agar lebih mampan dan menjamin dari segi kestabilan dan ekosistem yang terancang. Dan ini telah digariskan pada 2019 selepas berlakunya banjir terbesar pada 2014. Okey. Ini adalah dibawa adalah definisi dari segi bencana yang saya jelaskan tadi, yang melibatkan menggangguan dari segi aktiviti masyarakat dan juga negara. Contoh tsunami, gelinciran tanah, gempa bumi dan sebagainya. Namun banjir melibatkan suhu hujan dan juga taburan hujan serta limpahan air yang tidak terkawal. Okey. Dari segi metod, objektif kajian adalah berdasarkan temu bual melalui orang kampung sebanyak 25 responden daripada 225 dan melibatkan 45 KIR serta mereka adalah berasal daripada kampung di situ, bukan orang daripada orang luar. Ini adalah untuk mendapatkan pengalaman dan juga data yang tepat daripada mereka. Okey, dan seterusnya dari segi analisis adalah berdasarkan situational analysis, iaitu analisis setempat di mana kita mendapat maklumat terus daripada mereka dan sedikit dari segi analisis kandungan dokumen agensi kerajaan. Okey, ini adalah sedikit profil kajian. Di mana sungai utama di sungai itu adalah sungai Durian dan melibatkan ekonomi dari segi pertanian, pekebun kecil serta nelayan darat. Dan untuk salah satu tarikan kawasan tersebut adalah merupakan pelancongan untuk pegunungan Gunung Stone yang tertinggi di Asia Tenggara dan juga merupakan salah satu daripada kawasan untuk empangan lebir dan nenggiri di negeri Kelantan. Okey, justifikasi mengapa saya memilih kawasan ini adalah antaranya dari segi bentuk geografi yang landai, curam serta lembangan sungai. Yang kedua adalah dari segi kekerapan banjir setiap tahun dan yang ketiga adalah dari segi perkampungan yang berada di lembangan sungai, walaupun diganggu dengan fenomena alam tetapi mereka masih lagi berada di tempat yang sama. Okey. Okey, untuk sedikit punca berlakunya banjir, pertamanya dari segi hujan yang berterusan yang di mana melibatkan tanpa henti 3 hingga 10 hari dengan kedalamannya adalah mencecah 34.27 meter. Itu adalah di parasyan bahaya. Untuk normalnya adalah 5 hingga 10 meter. Dan untuk taburan hujan lebih daripada 200 mm setiap 3 minit. Itu yang berlaku pada waktu itu. Dan untuk saliran yang tidak efisien, kegiatan pembalakan terutamanya pembangunan di hulu sungai, faktor geografi, landai, rendah serta pembangunan yang tidak di kawasan yang tadahan iaitu empangan yang melibatkan empangan nenggiri dan lebir. Ini adalah untuk daripada kesan alam sekitar di mana berlakunya kesemusnahan dari segi alam sekitar yang melibatkan kerosakan setempat dan juga berlakunya tanah runtuh serta kerosakan harta benda penduduk sekitar. Untuk yang keduanya dari segi berlakunya tebing sungai yang runtuh dan ini adalah dapat dilihat daripada aliran sungai Durian tersebut. Dari segi ekonomi yang melibatkan dari segi kemusnahan tanaman pertanian terutamanya pertanian secara kampung dan juga komersial. Dan yang keduanya untuk menjejaskan dari segi sumber pendapatan di mana ia memberi kesan dari segi perkhidmatan dan juga pelancongan serta nelayan kerana ia melibatkan dari segi pendapatan yang memang 100%-nya memang kosong. Daripada A ataupun Z memang kosong, tidak ada apa-apa. Dan untuk dari segi pengurusan memang kita ada pelbagai peringkat iaitu sebelum dan juga selepas tragedi di mana sebelum tragedi melibatkan pencegahan dan juga melibatkan kesediaan dan selepas tragedi yang berlakunya banjir ataupun bencana kita melibatkan aktiviti yang tindakan daripada agensi kerajaan dan juga pemulihan dari segi alam sekitar dan sebagainya. Okey, ini adalah contoh yang telah dilaksanakan di kawasan Sungai Durian, di mana selepas daripada 2014 kita telah menjalankan dari segi pelebaran sungai di peringkat awal sebelum RTB dijalankan pada tahun lepas, di mana diperuntukkan sebanyak 24.3 juta, dan sekarang telah berhasil dalam 25%. Okey, yang mengambil masa 5 tahun dan akan berakhir pada 2027. Okey, untuk dari segi kesimpulan, pencegahan banjir memerlukan pendekatan secara menyeluruh, terutamanya dalam sektor ekonomi, sosial dan alam sekitar. Namun, kita mendapat beberapa kekangan untuk melaksanakan pemeliharaan ataupun penambahbaikan yang sedia ada kerana ia melibatkan kos penyelenggaraan yang sangat tinggi. Dan yang keduanya adalah lokasi banjir dan masa banjir itu sendiri serta masa. Dan seterusnya, SDG yang telah dikaitkan dalam pembentangan kali ini adalah melibatkan SDG yang ke-9, 13 dan juga 17. Jadi untuk keseluruhannya, semua sekali melibatkan kerjasama dalam pelbagai agensi kerajaan, swasta dan juga komuniti untuk memastikan agar meningkatkan kualiti hidup selaras dengan berorientasikan pembangunan yang mampan serta lestari untuk masa depan. Okey, itu saja daripada saya. Boleh? Okey, terima kasih.
Okay. Terima kasih Dr. Wan. Okay. Tanpa melengkahkan masa lagi, I think we can move on to the next presenter. Faz, tak sabar-sabar dia mau present. Saya tengok dia asyik bergerak-gerak tadi.
Hello semua, Assalamualaikum dan selamat tengah hari semua. Harap semua mampu bertahannya untuk kita makan tengah hari selepas ini. So I'm the last presenter for today's afternoon sessions. So terima kasih Dr. Eva. Saya Fazlina. Saya daripada Kota Kinabalu lah, wakil daripada Kota Kinabalu ingin membuat sharing juga. It's about the environmental concern lah. So what I'm going to present today is actually very related to my study because I have continued my study related with this like small scale fisheries in Kudat, Sabah. So actually this is a research paper and actually the title is changing. This is the real title of my papers that I'm going to present today. So the small scale fisheries. Okay, ramai yang tertanya-tanya, what exactly is the small scale fisheries? What about the people that work behind the scene? Are they still considered small scale fisheries? For example, those yang macam the husband going to the sea, and then the wives waiting for the sea to for the fish to come in and then clean it up, ready to be sold, so and so forth. Are they also considered small scale fisheries? Yes, actually, they are small scale fisheries also. Those who selling, those yang actually go to the pantai-pantai, the coastal line, do a gleaning, mengarang lah kalau kita panggil, and then collect all the mussels, the clams, things like that. They are the small scale fisheries lah. Yeah. So this is the introduction lah, very short one. Why actually small scale fisheries is very very important for us. Actually they are actually sustaining our protein lah. Most of our protein we take it from the sea. Yeah. So according to Ismail Ali in 2013, in Kudat area, there are actually the highest amount of small-scale fisheries in Sabah. And then people will be asking me, why you choose Kudat as a study? This is also very, very interesting things about Kudat. Also, I would like to share with you. And I have a conversation with our MP from Kudat, YB Datuk Verden, about the things that actually happen in Kudat. He always emphasized that ada ayat yang selalu dia guna. Sebenarnya Kudat ini ialah tempat paling banyak disaster happen. Satu benda aja saja tidak jadi. Apa itu? Belum lagi jadi turun salji, dia cakap. Kalau turun salji ni memang paling hebat lah Kudat ni. So actually the whole Kudat actually they experience a lot of disasters. So this is impacting the MPs also because most of his money and also dia punya the money for that he get from government actually to help those who affected by these natural disasters. So how serious is it? The natural disaster actually happened in Kudat. And I go next. Okay. So I just go through a very brief things about Kudat later on, but I'd like to go back to the objective of my study. Yes, Kudat actually is a very interesting thing to do a study. And most of their community actually live around the coastal areas. So I would like also to know what is the background of them. So this is, I come up with this objective lah. We want to investigate what is their background, what is their fisheries background, things like that. And then we want to know the climate impact and also the anthropogenic activities that may affect their daily activities. Okay. So we go back to Kudat. As you can see there, Kudat is actually the tip of Borneo. Yang paling hujung kita cakap dekat Malaysia ni is actually the tip of Borneo lah. Tip of Borneo is very near to this Philippine area. What is Philippine very famous of? It's the typhoon actually. Typhoons, they have they have like typhoon belt lah dekat sana. So they always have this typhoon, the cyclone and everything happening there. And then kadang-kadang the tempias will affect some of our communities, especially the small-scale fisheries, because sometimes they're not only fishing in their common ground, dekat kawasan-kawasan tepi rumah and everything, they also go further up to catch fish. So this affecting them. And to top with that also, we have climate change, because according to one the ethnic dekat kawasan Kudat tu, we call it, they have like we have like diverse ethnicity there, but when we approach Rungus people, they have these terms, they call it mararat. Mararat means that dia merupakan satu terms di mana every the end of the year, December, they were happening a very strong storm. So they use that terms lah. Okay, setiap hujung tahun there will be mararat lah. Mean like a very intense storm that they actually they try to avoid the sea lah during that time. But in the recent years, that things actually happen, change lah. The storms not only happening during the end of the years, it's changing. Sekarang bulan 1 pun dorang ada sudah itu ribut. Bulan 4 pun ada sudah itu ribut. So it's very hard for them to predict when they're gonna like feel safe to go out to the sea. So this is come back lah with their safety, macam mana mereka, how they actually want to protect themselves kan against this. And then to top with that is the anthropogenic activity also happening at the same time, things like that. So I just make it as a very simple one. I try to make it simple lah because I only have like 10 minutes to present this. So I have 5 study sites in a west side of Kudat. The reason why I choose west of Kudat is because this area is exposed to the open sea, berdepan dengan South China Sea. There's a lot of possibilities what actually might coming from the open sea. One of it is the storm lah. So I'm actually approaching more than this, like 34 people for my study. I also done like focus group discussion to know more about their other than their basic background. We want to know what actually their opinion and their perspective on this lah. Okay. So this is all the numbers lah. A very boring one, but I would like to pick on the gender, for example. There's like 32% of my respondent is male. But surprisingly, this is a very good sign because women also participating in this interview. Because usually women, they try to back off and then said, oh, we only work behind the scene. But now women are participating in the study, which is very, very good lah, to help and also to assess what their opinion on this. So this is a very simple one. And then as we know that most of the small scale fisheries have income lower than 1,198 lah. They are actually fall into the extreme poverty punya side. So I just jump back to these fisheries. Okay, the small scale fisheries actually they are mostly use these like traditional gears kan, but in Kudat area, 76% of them actually use cast net. Some also use this like hook and line lah, pancing, because they have to go, sometimes have to go to the open sea to catch a much bigger fish. And their main catch is actually pelagic, because of this open sea that they have in front of them. They actually berhadapan, so they cannot like actually go to for the demersal, even though they do have this coral, but they are some of them prefer to go for the pelagic fishes. Okay, so I move again to the coastal ecosystem availability. On this, I like to emphasize on seagrasses. Why seagrasses? Right now in Malaysia, we don't have a specific a protection status for our seagrasses. Actually, seagrasses is a very, very important part lah in combating the climate change. This is like the three holy spirit that we call that to actually help to combat the climate change lah. So for that one, and then for the findings, actually I already integrated some of my introduction with my findings. Actually, as I said that this area actually exposed to this climate change, especially in the impact of storm surge. So if you have the time, and then I would like if you can visit Kudat, maybe it is very good also lah for you to go to the tip of Borneo and then see what actually happened there, what changes, because you can see a lot of like the facility there were very affected by the storm. Banyak rumah-rumah yang ada yang tercabut, dia punya apa tu roof and everything. So from there like you can see that actually the intensity of the storm is getting menaik lah, increasing. So other than that, to top with this like impact from the storm, we also have the impact from the anthropogenic threats lah. Impact daripada human-induced activities. Even though it's not that prominent, because most of the community there were very aware about the impact, but sometimes you cannot like avoid from that. So they still have this like fish blasting activities were increasing, especially during the COVID areas. This is also the most interesting fact about Kudat. During the COVID, the small-scale fisheries number is actually increasing. This is according to Department of Fisheries of Sabah. It's actually tremendously like a lot of people are registering to get the license. So during the COVID, these activities were very active in Kudat area. Okay, they also Penduduk juga they share lah about this like foreign vessel. It's actually very, very near with this coastal area. Sorry, I take a little bit time. So and also reclamation, which we cannot avoid. Sometimes they are this Kudat is actually quite famous with the tourism. So sometimes they have to do the reclamation in some part of the coastal area to support the tourism activities. And then the mangrove clearing also same. Because of the tourism, we want to increase our tourism, but what about our, what we call it, ecosystem? So how to actually we try to balance between this like development and also to protect our environment. That's one of the things that we need to consider lah. Especially in Kudat area, more research need to be done, and then we need to implement a very holistic development lah for this area. Since we know that now that Kudat actually is very dia cenderung kepada the storm surge punya impact. Okay, I think that's all for me. Thank you so much. It's I just give a very brief sharing lah about this. Actually, there's more I would like to share, but because of our limit of time, this is only a little bit of introduction lah about Kudat and about my study. I think that's all. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Fazlina. It appears that our three presenters have maximized their time for the presentations. So we've gone through, we've seen the impact of climate change on farmers, on fishers, and also the local community. But anyway, since I'm sorry because we're out of time, even though I said sedia questions, but then you can meet them later to ask if there is anything, and also read through the papers in the QR code. So yes, okay, one question.
Because I'm always thinking about, the work that we're doing, APPGM, and how we potentially have got, this opportunity to bring about change. Dr. Wan, regarding Sungai Durian, the situation has been like that for a long time, kan? And then you were saying that now, currently, they're widening, and it's also got to do with APPGM's intervention. So my question is, what did we do right in terms of engaging the local government or district government agencies to actually undertake it when they've been so silent all this while? Why suddenly now? So what did we do? I think that'll be a great learning for even a lot of our other work and for it to be documented as well. Maybe if you can just answer that. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, terima kasih Miss Omna. Okay, sorry. Dah lupa sebab lama tak jumpa. Okay. Sebenarnya apa tindakan daripada pihak agensi sebenarnya daripada bermulanya berlaku banjir besar pada tahun 2014 sehingga kini sebenarnya kita ada jawatan kuasa di peringkat kerajaan negeri tempatan di mana ia melibatkan berbagai agensi teknikal dan juga beberapa langkah di peringkat awal yang melibatkan 3 fasa. Fasa pertamanya adalah menerusi selepas berlakunya tragedi banjir, iaitu melibatkan pembinaan semula untuk fasa 1 jambatan dan juga yang kedua pelebaran sungai serta beberapa perkara-perkara yang mengambil masa dalam jangka masa yang agak pendek. Dan yang keduanya kita ada dari segi fasa yang kedua serta ketiga adalah fasa yang mengambil masa yang agak panjang yang melibatkan bajet yang besar yang saya telah maklumkan tadi di mana kita melibatkan satu projek untuk rancangan tebatan banjir di setiap kawasan di negeri Kelantan terutamanya di Kuala Krai dan juga di Gua Musang serta di Ratau Panjang yang kawasan hotspot di kawasan negeri Kelantan. Contoh di Kuala Krai satu bajet untuk projek RTB yang mengambil masa 5 tahun adalah melibatkan 5 juta. namun ia melibatkan rancangan berdasarkan panjangnya sungai yang terlibat dan limpahannya yang berlaku. Kalau kata di Kuala Krai melibatkan 24.5 juta, kalau tak silap saya tadi, ia melibatkan 40 kilometer panjang sungai. Namun dan yang kedua dari segi tindakan, yang kedua adalah menerusi jawatankuasa adalah dari segi pemantauan ataupun hasil dari segi output pembinaan ataupun pembangunan yang telah dilaksanakan untuk baik pulih kawasan yang sedia ada serta melaksanakan beberapa pemulihan dan juga penempatan untuk komuniti. Contohnya di kawasan kampus Sungai Nurrul dia memang tidak ada apa-apa, kosong, zero, walaupun satu rumah pun hanya tinggal tangga sahaja. Dan alternatif untuk agensi kerajaan terutamanya menerusi RTD dan juga jawatankuasa bencana di peringkat kerajaan negeri dan juga kerajaan daerah, kita menempatkan satu penempatan semula golongan-golongan yang terlibat. Penempatan semula banjir. Kita ada dalam 32 keluasan hektar di mana kita menempatkan 7 blok kawasan yang menempatkan 225 penduduk di situ. Namun kekangan di pihak kerajaan negeri dan juga jawatankuasa, penduduk asal masih lagi kembali ke tempat asal. Jadi bila berlakunya banjir, kalau kata 45 KIR yang terkesan sebelum ni, 12 dah balik. Bila berlakunya banjir setiap masa, setiap tahun, dan ada lagi kekangan ataupun bantuan terhadap masa-masa yang terlibat. Jadi tidak semuanya yang dipindahkan itu berada di tempat baru dan mereka tetap kembali ke tempat asal. Itu adalah itu adalah kekangan daripada agensi kerajaan. Bukan kata agensi kerajaan sama ada GPS, sama ada pejabat daerah dan juga agensi-agensi alam sekitar dan sebagainya tidak ada tindakan apa-apa untuk menyelesaikan masalah ini. Namun kita ada kekangan daripada komuniti juga untuk kita selesaikan masalah ini. Untuk banjir memang kita tidak akan selesai sampai bila-bila. Untuk banjir memang kita tidak akan ada penyelesaiannya yang agak konsisten. Tapi cara untuk memudahkan mereka memahami serta mengurangkan bencana alam seperti banjir dan juga perkara-perkara lain, itu kita ada jalan penyelesaiannya. Contohnya tadi kalau kata untuk mengurangkan banjir, RTB, rancangan tempatan banjir. Kita tidak akan dapat mengubah fenomena alam ni sebab kita sekarang ni kalau diikutkan memang tidak ada kita ada perubahan iklim yang agak ketara. Kita tak jamin kawasan ni yang tinggi tidak ada apa-apa. Tidak. Ini banyak berlaku di kawasan-kawasan yang memang tidak dijangka. Tetapi berlakunya banjir. Okey, itu saja daripada saya.
Okay, baik. Terima kasih Dr. Wan. Okay, I will allow for one more question and then we wrap up. Oh my God.
Bukan soalan. Sedikit, very brief comment. I think when we were talking about climate resilience, right? I think we are very excellent at being reactionist instead of focus on the root cause of the problem. The root cause of the problem always has been the crazy logging dan sebagainya. Tapi benda tu tidak di-highlight, tidak di-address further. Of course, there are a lot of other things, other factors yang kita terikat lah in that sense when we're talking about this. But I think Omna rightly mentioned just now, it's not that we don't have good policies in Malaysia. We do have, but the problem is that the policy delivery is not reaching out the local level. That's the problem that we have to see, and I think the suggestion by Omna earlier, we have to really see, walaupun the political dynamic, walaupun berubah kerajaan dan sebagainya, sepatutnya pegawai kerajaan teruskan, keep going with whatever the policies yang tak tetapkan. I also understand that the struggle between juggling between environment and also development is there. We have to think about the economical factors, revenue for the state dan sebagainya. But at certain level, we don't have any answer to that. We're trying to see macam mana kita nak find a balance point untuk selesaikan masalah ni. But then again, it goes back. Maybe we have to go in the most simplest way of doing things. We should go back. We should be more proactive, integrated efforts, and looking at the long-term environmental health and resilience. It should start from us. More meaningful community engagement, strengthen the awareness among the community leaders. The mentality shift should be there, and I believe projek-projek kita walaupun bernilai rendah, when it comes to environmental project, should create more awareness kepada individu-individu di kawasan bawah. That's my 2 cents. Thank you so much.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Puan Rama. I will allow for one more question and then I'll close. Okay, only one. Thanks.
Hello everyone, selamat tengah hari, salam berkenalan. Saya Welan dari UKM. So sebenarnya saya ada 2 soalan, tapi disebabkan oleh limitasi masa, so saya akan tanya 1 soalan sajalah. Untuk pembentang kedua, Dr. Wan, soalan saya berkaitan dengan masalah sudah dipresent tadi, telah dibentangkan, tetapi saya nak tahu apakah pendekatan daya tahan yang dimiliki oleh pengusaha-pengusaha pelancongan di kawasan kajian dan bagaimana mereka memiliki pendekatan daya tahan tersebut. Sebab saya ada kajian yang mirip dekat Kelantan tapi saya fokus dekat Kota Baru dan juga Pachoh. So mungkin pandangan daripada Dr. Wan ni akan boleh membantu saya untuk buat comparison ataupun kajian perbandingan akan datang. Sekian, terima kasih.
Okay, terima kasih Tuan. Dan ini fokus, saya nak tanya, ini fokus untuk pelancongan di Dabong ataupun macam mana? Di kawasan kajian. Okey, sebenarnya untuk makluman semua, kawasan Sungai Durian ataupun perkampungan 34 perkampungan tersebut adalah berada di kawasan lembangan sungai yang agak rendah, dan yang keduanya adalah berdekatan dengan empangan Nenggiri dan juga Lebir yang merupakan dua empangan yang utama di Kelantan. Jadi dari segi ketahanan untuk pelancongan, pertamanya mereka sentiasa bersedia sekiranya, yang pertamanya bersedia sekiranya ada berlaku banjir dan sebagainya, sebab mereka sebenarnya pernah mempunyai pengalaman dari segi persediaan untuk bajet, dari segi yang keduanya untuk kerugian, dan juga yang ketiga dari segi penglibatan agensi-agensi yang terlibat. Mereka boleh tahu sekiranya mereka mengalami kerugian dengan siapa mereka perlu dirujuk. Dan yang keempatnya, mereka juga memiliki dari segi mentaliti yang agak tinggi sebenarnya. Walaupun berkali-kali kawasan mereka ni dilimpahi dengan banjir dan sebagainya, setinggi 34.17 meter tingginya, tetapi mereka tetap mempunyai inisiatif untuk dari segi motivasi untuk bangkit balik, meningkatkan ataupun membaik pulih kawasan yang sedia ada. Jadi dengan kata lain, dari segi daya tahan, salah satunya adalah dari segi lokasi juga. Lokasi juga memainkan peranan. Dan seterusnya dari segi penglibatan agensi kerajaan dan juga dari segi masa yang diperolehi daripada owner pelancong itu sendiri. Menjawab soalan ke? Boleh? Sebab saya tahu Gunung Stong ni memang popular. Memang popular, ia adalah tertinggi di Asia Tenggara adalah di situ. Di berhampiran dengan Sungai Durian tu. Kita ada juga dari segi sekarang ni ada train to Dabong. Kan? Train to Dabong salah satu aset yang tinggilah untuk pelancongan. Selain daripada hiking di Gunung Stong. Saya pun tak pernah pergi lagi sebenarnya. Tapi pernah sampai bawah je. Okey, boleh ya? Boleh? Okey, terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih Dr. Wan.